Right, well, Nicholas has just about emptied his glass from our first half, although
Mm,
we might use that as the actual start to episode 81 of the Malt Travel podcast, where we are just reflecting on our very warm summer. Although, as I said in part one, it has broken now, and it's certainly a bit more rainy. I think we're going to get another heat wave possibly in September, but we will wait and see. So, the ask of this one was to think about where we would like to have a lovely, cold, luscious Timothy Taylor's blonde or a lovely Tadcaster brewed Madry in the
White Rat.
thing. I'd probably Saint Austell. I'd probably like. I don't know. Nick's managed to find a little deal at Asda at the moment where you can get a free bottle of Asda,
Asda,
a
Morrison's,
free bottle of Proper
Sainsbury's,
Job.
Tesco's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Mm.
was I offered? I've got 4 free cans of something that I can pick up as well. I'll think of it in a minute and find out what it is. Right. So this is the plan. So as I say, I'm going to do it in 3 rounds, and I'm going to let them explain each where it is, and then we can go backwards and forwards. So I think, Bruce, you are kicking us off, and this is definitely a pub that I have never been to, and this is I think you chose the Anchor.
It is, yes, the Anchor. I mean, it's an unusual choice because it could be argued it's a last tourist trap. But actually, to be fair to Green King, they're proved really great custodians of it. It's an ancient pub on the banks of the Thames, just in the shadow of Southwark Bridge. And the building itself is, but to be fair, I say Green can get a bit of stick, but they've really looked after this one. It's dark, it's moody, got big nautical overtones inside. About 2 minutes walk from the Globe Theatre, and about 3 minutes walk from the other side from Borough Market. But of course, Borough Market is surrounded by pubs, so a lot of people that get the Anchor, they've already those beers. But what makes it truly amazing is its beer garden, which is is nestled exactly right there on the banks of the Thames. You can literally sit right there. They do have a bar that serves a beer garden only. Again, the usual Green King, Flint, Level Eye, stuff like that. Not cheap at all. But I say you're there. What's the other bridge up from Southwark Bridge? Southwark Bridge. It's London Bridge, then, isn't it?
Yeah, classic London. Yeah.
So Southwark Bridge to the right, and that's London Bridge to the left. So you don't look at London Bridge because you're sitting there, or the Uber boats are whizzing by. There's a pavement. The path goes up between the pub and the beer garden. So a lot of passing train. But I say you sit there, you see the Dome of St Paul's. You've got the Shad the other side of you. You've got the planes whizzing over you going to London City Airport. All the stuff going on the river. It is absolutely fantastic. I mean, I think if you're an American, you're visiting London, you find yourself sat there, you would just think, crikey, could have dreamt of this. It's an amazing location. I think that picture, if you look, you can just see the Dome of St Paul's. They've got a fantastic view. So I think, whilst I associate the capital with the great pubs, the Anchor is worth a visit. And say Green King get a thought of amount on a Green King, but the way they look after the pub inside and out is really quite fantastic.
So yeah, I think it's one of the Shakespeare taverns, isn't it? I think when I
Yeah.
looked at it, it was rebuilt in 1676, so it was already a boozer before that, and I think it burnt down in the fire of London. So, like you say, it's an ancient one, isn't it? But I say between Borough Market and the Globe and the Green King. Nick, have you been to the Anchor?
No,
No.
no.
I think I've
I've
walked
been to a
past it,
couple
but
over
I've never
the
been in. Maybe I have
south
been
of the
in.
river.
Yeah.
There's the famous one that Pete Brown wrote about as being where a lot of the stage coaches set off from, where it's got the gantry. That's got its own courtyard. Can't remember what that one's called now. That one's just as though you're heading down towards, as though you've got to go to the last one now, set back off the main road, its own courtyard, and say it's got a gantry. It's really old one. It's, I think, the best remaining example of a coaching inn. And I've been, I think there's a Nicholson's over on the south over there.
Yeah,
It's also sort of on the riverfront there, but no, I've not been to this one.
There's a multitude of great riverside pubs in Central, but I think this is the view because you're banging the stack line of Dome of St Paul's there.
I can imagine paying £8.50 for a pint of Abbott here.
Yeah,
and it'll be full of probably braying people drinking those orange spritzer things.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. I mean, I say that's one thing. What I would say, the staff, and this is what amazed me. Increasingly baffles me. I go to pubs up north now, and the staff are quite rude, but the bar staff in London are really
Because they're all foreign,
incredibly
because they're all
friendly. I think
professional bar staff.
I think with the cost of living, I think you've got an awful lot of students now. We're having to work to survive in London.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of bright young things, and I have to say the staff in the Anchor are an absolute credit to it. Every time you go, they could not be more helpful, but they all seem very articulate.
Some are and some aren't, Bruce. The Nicholsons I mentioned, the staff were terrible. They were disgraceful. But they get away with it because, once again, it's that thing, well, I can talk to you as I want because you're probably not regular. You're never going to come back. And, go somewhere else.
Right, well, we'll move on. And
compared to when we went to Scotland, and we really all thought that the staff in Scotland really made an effort to make sure that everything
in Ireland they are as well.
So I've had very much mixed experiences down the room in terms of bar stuff.
Right, moving on to where you will get a very warm welcome. So this is my first choice in round two. I think, Nick, you have been here. Bruce, you are yet to venture.
I'll come soon, yeah.
This is one of my local. There was a bit of a river link, although it's nowhere near the river, in that there are ducks. This features ducks quite prominently, and particularly a mallard or a mallard. So this is Mallards, which is in the town of Newcastle-under-Lyme. It is a former ironmonger's that was converted in 2017 and has become a little bit of a beery mecca, mainly because it's got a huge beer yard. It's not a garden, but it's a big beer yard. It catches the sun really nice in the late afternoon, and I would imagine. Well, I've been a few times over the last few weeks. It's been absolutely rammed all summer because of that, because you can sit outside. It's a convenient place. They have slightly branched out into cocktails and into gins. They always have 3 casks on. And a range of kegs, keenly priced. The cask is done well. It's always been $3.20. I think it's slightly gone up. It's about $3.50 now.
That's great, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got the pizza guys, Bruce, who are in the Northern Monk place. The same guys there. It's the same company that they are permanent there with pizzas. They do a lot of things like paint and pint, so you can go and paint. You can have a paint one night and pint. They do psychologists in the pub. So they have a range of things going on. They've just had a running club, which is quite popular. So it's a great place. Inside, it's quite airy. It's obviously a big kind of old warehouse type of place. There's a kind of a posher side, and then a bit more kind of sawdust on the other side with a huge roof. Nick, you've been in it a few times. It's fairly pleasant.
Yeah.
It's a small bar. I think it's challenged the problem with it.
Yeah, and there's sometimes some mad stuff on, don't they?
They have some mad stuff on, yeah. Murky stuff.
On the crap.
But there's always 3 casks on.
We bumped into that chap who thought we were tickers. He was there with his little notebook and a little third.
He's a regular. He's a regular bloke.
He travelled all the way from somewhere on a bus just to tick off in his little book. Yeah. And he thought that we were tickers. Crash, we must be looking more and more like the real ale wankers from Biz every month.
So there's not much of a view, but not a bad place. And then, hang on, I've got this wrong here because I've got another one from Bruce here. So let me find one from Nick. Right, Nicholas, stay in London. So you've got another one that's by the river. This is a bit further down, isn't it? So this is the Dove.
No, other end.
I meant upriver. The Dove in Hammersmith.
Going west almost as far as you can go before you start almost getting into the countryside. Dove at Hammersmith, fullest pub. It is also famous for it states that it has the smallest bar in the country. And it does in that if you go into the front door, turn immediately left, there's literally a bench and then the bar. So there's enough space for about 4 people to stand. So it is a bar because that's the front of the bar. And then you go through again. If you don't turn right into the little front bar, then there's the main part of the bar area. And then you go through and you're on the river. And it is sat right on the river. So the footpath actually has to divert away from along the riverfront, and it actually comes around the back of the pub, and then it comes back round again. So the footpath actually is diverted around the pub itself, because obviously the pub was there before people wanted to go for a lovely leisurely walk along the river. So this is where a lot of the rowing takes place as well. So sometimes when you sat out there on their balcony, you can watch the rowing teams practicing up and down. And I say, I've started to migrate towards this part of London because one of my favourite Wetherspoons is the next bridge down, which is in Putney, called the Rocket. And once again, their beer garden isn't quite on the river, but you can sit in. It's circular, hence the name of the Rocket. It's a circular building. It's full-length glass windows, and you can sit and look out, and you're in the shadow of Putney Bridge there. And as Bruce mentioned, you see the Ubers coming and going, and River Life, and then there's a lot of people running and cycling past as well. So you can watch the world go by at the Rocket, and then you can walk along the South River, cross over Hammersmith Bridge, go to the Dove. So yeah, it's a cracking little Fuller's pub. I've always liked the Fuller's beer as well. And as I say, sitting out there on the balcony. And because where it is, it never gets overly busy. I've always managed to get in there and get a seat. Can't say, maybe on a Friday or Saturday night, because I'm never up that part of town on a night. But during the day, no problem at all. Getting a seat there and enjoying the river, watching the river go past.
Okay, so it's grade 2 listed. And you know what was written there? Something famous was written in this pub in 1740.
That's right. It was, yeah.
What
Can't remember what it was, but it was.
Rule Britannia was written. The words of
right,
Rule
yeah.
Britannia. So a nice little thing there. So again, Bruce, I've not been here. Have you ever been the Dove in Hammersmith? I don't think I've ever been to Hammersmith.
I would like to go. I've never really been to Hammersmith at all, to be honest. I would like to go. That was a great little pub.
Yeah. Right, so that was
one thing worth pointing out is if you are going to London and you a few days before, if you want to visit this pub, if you go to the pub website and sign up for alerts from Fuller's, they'll send you a welcome email, and you will get a free pint of London Pride or their house lager. So obviously, you're buying a couple, it's like on £7-8 a pint, or the Fuller's pub now, isn't it, Nick? So they never will come instantly. It needs to be done about at least probably 3-4 days before, but you will get a free pint, which is very welcome at London prices.
Yep. Very good. Right, to round 2 then. So the theme already, I think, is there's an age theme going on here. So I think with Bruce's choice, again, I'm going the wrong way again. There is definitely a theme because this, I understand, this is the Isle of Wight's oldest pub. I think Nick has been to this one, and this, Bruce, is the Chine Inn in the Isle of Wight.
It is, which is it's known for 2 things. I mean, it's a fantastic pub right on the beach, but actually, this is the pub I was talking. The pub I was mentioning was at the one that's elevated off the beach. I meant the one at the very, very bottom of Shanklin Chine.
So that's the one you've got.
That's the one I've been to, Bruce. I've not been to this one. I've been to the one that you've been to. Yeah.
Yes.
Right, the pub on Chine Beach.
Anyway, but so great.
Leave it at that one.
So
that's where Father nearly lost control of his mobility scooter because there was quite a slope down to it.
Well, this does look. But the one I was talking about is a pub owned by the Isle of Wight Goddards, is it? And it's the very bottom of Shanklin Chine. Shanklin Chine, I have to say, for me, is one of the world's crappiest tourist attractions. It's just like a little gully from the, and then illuminated at night. The illumination stretching it. You go during the day and see a few flowers. Go back at night, and it's very, very dimly illuminated. Blackpool illumination is not. Could quite trip over in the dark.
Bruce, it's the Isle of Wight, Bruce.
I know, but it's pants.
What you expecting? Bloody Vegas.
It's a fantastic pub, right on the beach. You're literally drinking on the beach. It's timber building inside. Lots of it's the Isle of Wight Brewery beers. They're pretty good as well. They've got to the right of the pub. They've got an extended yard, come beer garden. I think it's about concreted over now because obviously the tide comes in sometimes. But you're right on the beach, and you have to say on the right weather it is. I'm much more of an indoor person in the fire, but if I had to choose, I think a pub on the beach. It would be the one at the very one at the very bottom of Shanklin.
Not this one.
This does look good.
By where it is. Well, this one was built in 1621, so it's another ancient one.
Yeah.
Whereabouts is it? Which bit of Isle of Wight is the Chine Inn in?
In Shanklin.
Shanklin. Freshwater. Is that north or south?
Shanklin's to the left of Sandown. Let me confirm.
Shanklin.
And it's at the east end of the beach, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's great.
That's where there's a lift in it, Bruce. On the outside.
After the pub, after the pub, you run into the cliff. You can't go beyond the pub. The beach ends.
No. But up above the pub, there's a car park. So we parked there, and my father was in his mobility scooter, and then we went down to the pub. It's quite a steep slope, and
very big lift in go down the cliff. Yeah.
It's not for Nick.
Right, so that's that one. Move on.
This is a great pub.
It's a good pub. Right. So my second choice is Minty Moor, which is in Barmouth, which is obviously on the Welsh coast. I think it's just classed as Snowdonia. Min y Mor means by the sea in Welsh, so it's very straightforward. It's actually a kind of apparently it was a former school, and in fact it's actually got if you're on YouTube, it's actually got a kind of church tower at one end of it. And
Oh,
apparently there's a story here that
Mm.
a woman with a baby was something she was there, and she ran up the stairs to ring the school bell, and she dropped the baby, and the baby died, and she
oh,
was so remote that she went and drowned herself. So it's one of those, again, I don't, it's a good story, is it, for the locals, in that you can
oh.
hear a screw still wailing as the waves crashing. It's a
Yeah.
fairly bog standard hotel, with the hotel bar that does Guinness, that does, I think they may have a Doom bar on cask.
Mad breed.
But what they've got is they have got a absolute wonderful um, beer garden out the front. Again, it's not particularly posh. It's concreted benches set in, but as you can see again on YouTube, it looks over the whole of that well, whatever it is, Cardigan Bay, I think is it, and all the way up to the Llyn Peninsula, with Snowdon on your right. And as you can see there, you get a fantastic sunset if you stay outside there. I think that's one of my own photos there. You get a wonderful sunset, which I think that's over
Yeah,
Bardsey Island in the
that's
in the
great.
so it's it's not a great pub. If you're going inside, it's all right. They do a normal good pub meal, cheap pub meal, but the actual views that you get, it's a little bit out of the town, so it's a little bit quieter than the madness that you can sometimes get in Barmouth, in the particular summer. But again, on a summer's evening, it's an absolutely cracking place. I think last time, not last time, but one I was there with when we were camping. I think every night I kind of managed to end up here just for that view. So that's my second choice. And then Nicholas's second choice is, we've already mentioned it, is the Royal Oak, or the Old Malton Royal Oak Kitchen and Bar. And again, I think, Nick, because of the beer garden, really, isn't it? That he's a again,
Beer
quite.
garden, but also from where I live on a nice summer's evening, it's a nice walk up. You go through Lady Springwood, which is where Malton was established. That's where the Romans settled because it was a crossing point over the River Derwent. So Malton was known as Deventio, and Lady Springwoods is where they got their spring water from. A lot later on in history, then it brought typhus into town, but that's another story. So you walk up through Lady Springwood, you follow in the course of the Derwent up to Old Malton, which is a triple SI, that section of the Derwent up there. There's always some wildlife around, and then onto the Gannock, and then the Old Malton Royal Oak is across the road. So it's a nice half an hour walk through meadows, along the river, and then on a nice evening, as I say, Steve has got the biggest beer garden in the town. Good food there as well, just like South African twist, and he always has 4 real ales on. Normally always from Yorkshire. He has a house real ale on, which I think it's Yorkshire Heart that's doing that at the moment. It is Royal Oak Bitter, but that's brewed by one of the Yorkshire breweries. And yeah, reasonably priced. They're good food and just nice. And he's doing really well now because unfortunately, sadly, we have talked about it before. There's very little other choice in town now. Certainly, if you want a pub meal of any sort of decent quality, and so more and more tourists, should I say, are getting to know about this place. Plus, a lot more people in town who are discerning, and people asking when you recommend, and they are recommending the Royal Oak, Old Malton Royal Oak, and Kitchen. So yeah, that's my choice.
Yeah, it's a cracking little. It's kind of what you'd want as your local. I think this pub. I always think of it like a bit like that. Yes, it's quite foodie, but there's always people in there just drinking, isn't there? And I got the pub garden's quite good for that because you can, if you do just want a beer, it can sometimes be a bit awkward, Nick, isn't it? Because you all ram around the fairly smallish bar. If all the tables are being used for eating, but there's normally in between the front room and the back room a couple of tables that you can normally. And as I said, the beer garden is wonderful. You used to be able. I don't think you can. You used to be able to sit outside the front. I don't think he doesn't have any tables out there now, does he?
Yeah,
Used
I
to
remember that.
yeah, I think that
Mm.
seems to have stopped. But it's a great little pub. Like I said, the beer's always really good form. He's a very convivial landlord, isn't it? And the staff again. I know the staff change a bit, don't they, Nick? But they're always very good. They're well trained. They look after you really well. So yeah, a really really good pub. Again, I was amazed. This place was 1780. This place goes back to. It was actually originally an ale house. It's grade 2 listed. which again you probably would have thought 'cause it's almost kind of just a cottage, isn't it? In that little row, it's quite a nice little setting.
But it's weird that it's this sort of mock timber
yeah,
Tudor.
yeah.
Uh,
I presume it's
it's the only
later.
one in Old Malton, and then round the corner, then you've got a thatched building as well,
Yeah,
like one
yeah.
thatched building in the village. It's like, who came up with these alternative
So I think this is the
building
one pub
styles?
that
I
we've
don't
probably
know
all
really,
been
but
to, haven't we? Because we've all been to this pub.
yeah.
And I think I remember a couple of good nights on Bad Kitty in here, where me and you were caning Bad Kitty and just had a really good crack in the front. We were sat in that front window, taking on, the tourists. And so, yeah, a good shout for the beer garden. Again, not much of a view, out the front maybe, but a very nice setting. So that's, I think, is that round 2 that we've done round 2? Yes.
Yeah.
So we're into round 3. I'm going the wrong way again. So let's go into round 3. So in round 3, so Nicholas, a Weatherspoons. We've got a Weatherspoons in there.
My last
Quite
one.
a special
That's a
Weatherspoons.
B.
This is the Angel. So this is the one that we've all been in. So this is the Angel in Whitby. So tell us about the Angel in Whitby.
Overlooking the harbour. Don't go on a weekend. Whitby is horrible. Whitby has become the New York for stag do's, hen do's, coach companies bringing down, shall we say, working class people from the northeast who just literally want to get absolutely arsehole and then cause problems. But out of St Andor in summer during the week, can't go wrong. Coming here, top tip is go upstairs because most of the pissheads can't climb up the stairs. And if you get one of the tables, there's 5 windows. Anybody who's on YouTube can see the picture there. The 5 windows, pull back doors, open to the harbour, looking over the harbour. Once again, Mike's talked about the sun setting. As the sun's going down over the harbour, it's lovely sitting there. You can get a pint of Whitby brewery beer in there a lot cheaper than climbing up the 99 stairs to the Abbey, which I can never understand how they sell their beer at that place when it's literally being brewed on site compared to other places in town. Even the Fleece over the other side of the harbour, you'll get a cheaper pint of Whitby brewery beer in that pub than up at the tap. But I suppose they know people are going to make the effort to go up there, and it's a bit of a captive audience up there. And I don't particularly like the method that they dispense the beer up there either. But yeah, obviously it is a touristy one, so Tim Martin does have different price scales, a bit like Mr. Smith did or has done now. But saying that, in the last few times I've been in there, it's been beginning of the week, and they do a Monday beer club and also Tuesday and Wednesday out of season. It's not bad at all, especially with your camera discount. I never pay more than £3 for a pint of beer in there, and once again, never had a bad pint in the Angel. And if I did, I am pretty sure that if I took it back and said this isn't right, they would change it without disputing it whatsoever. Which is something that Tim Martin always ensures, that if people do complain about the beer, they don't argue with you. Unlike some other pub chains, Mike will remember the reception we got in the coffees that time when we was outside, and the bloke treated us like the idiots. So hence never go there again. So yeah, that's the Angel in Whitby. But as I say, don't go on a weekend because naturally, it being a Spoons and it being fairly cheap, and it just being round the corner from the coaches drop off at the railway station, it does get very, very busy with people who just want to get absolutely.
Yeah, although I would say it always feels a bit more of a foodie Weatherspoons because obviously being a family resort, so you often find that virtually every table's got somebody eating food, and the bars aren't massive. So whilst you do get upstairs, I think you get a bit of a gaggle. I'm trying to remember what the Angel was like before it was a Weatherspoon, because again, it's this another ancient building, 1795 at least it goes back to. It was one of the
just a no run-down hotel.
coaching inns, yeah. And it was 2013 when it was a multi-million pound. I think they put all that front bit on, didn't they? Because I think, remember, it was set back quite a bit. And I think we probably went in it when it was prior to being.
Yeah, just covered in seagull shit. It was a tired old,
but like you say, it's
seaside
got
hotel.
prime position. You're right next to the swing bridge, so you can watch all the chaos when that breaks. You've got a nice view over the harbour. It's a weather lodge, isn't it, as well? So you can actually stop. And if you're on YouTube, there are some stunning rooms. If you get one of those rooms at the front, I think rooms at the back might not be great. But again, I know whenever I've looked, it's fully booked for months and months and months. So. Yeah. So the Whitby Angel, again, a pub that we've all been to. Next one is an interesting choice from Bruce, actually. And I've got a feeling this is because of the view. So this is the Knaresborough Working Men's Club, which has featured quite regularly on our podcast, hasn't it, Bruce?
Yeah, so we caught it more over this summer. Nesby Working Men's Club was like a lot of them struggling really. Nesby's not only quite a affluent town, it's got an awful lot of pubs, and that's despite still got an awful lot of pubs, despite the fact that all three Samson's pubs are currently closed. There are pubs by the river, there are pubs in the marketplace, there are pubs in the suburbs, there are pubs at the far end of the river, and some cracking pubs amongst them. Blind Jack's is there. I think the best Ossett beer drink is in their Cross Keys pub. They've got the World's End. They've got a pub.
They've chosen this one. So let's
No.
They look
Yeah.
very nondescript from the outside.
And this is the one where Bruce was going to get membership because he wanted it to close. Because if it closed and they sold the club off, then the shareholders all got part of the dividend. So he's saying it's a wonderful pub. He wanted it to close down and go to ruin.
Well, I'm a member now because I get me extra discount off. Yeah.
Let's hope it closes then.
Wetherspoon's open. A lot of people thought it was doomed. So what they've done is they've, you don't remember to go in the Nesby Working Men's Club. It's a very, very 70s vibe when you go in. Big square rooms, 2 snooker tables, those serving hatches that are unique to British working men's clubs, and the most curious brand of spirits that I've never seen before elsewhere. And there are Don Alfredo rum and bizarre like that. You've never seen them anywhere but in Nesby Working Men's Club. However, they always have 2, sometimes 3 cascales on. They've always got Timothy Taylor's one. In fact, there's blonde on. Last time I was in there, there were 2 Timothy Taylors on, and I think a Rudgate. Beer's really, really well kept because they shipped a lot of it. But what makes it unique is from that rather, well, it's still a fine building. Is out the back, they've got a spectacular tiered, large terrace overlooking the viaduct and the river. The view is absolutely spectacular. But for all sorts of reasons, I mean, a lot of people thought Wetherspoons to kill it off. They've reacted, it's thriving. They've still got all the acts there on a Friday, Saturday. You can see all those bizarre signs, Rocket Man and Girl, duo.
So it's the view. Well, the beer of the view sounds good. I must admit, when I looked into it, it's quite. People say it's quite a weird thing because Nesby's not really that kind of working class industrial town.
Is it?
It's quite a posh town, but apparently lots of quarrying and railway workers and that's why they set the Working Men's Club up. I think it was initially, and you can see from it, it wasn't set up as a pub. It was set up as more of a kind of a working institute where you went and studied and read the papers, but it's always turned into a pub. So it's doing a good trade. And yeah, I've not been there. Nick, have you managed to squeeze in there yet?
No, I always go Wetherspoons.
No. Okay. Right, I'm conscious we are sort of running out of time. So the final offer, and this is my third one, is another one by the seaside, but a completely different part of the world. I think Nick, you've probably been here. Bruce, I think you may have been here. And this is the
I've never been to Padstow.
All right, in Padstein or Padstow, as it probably would be. And this is on again. It's quite well, not surprisingly, a little Cornish fishing village has got a number of very good pubs. The London Road Inn probably would be my choice if I was going on my own. But if you are with friends and you're with family, and if you fancy having a beer outside, while the kids are crabbing, then this is right on the harbour edge. It's on the far side of the harbour, so it's slightly away from the maelstrom, and it's quite a big place. It's a St Austell house, so they do have the Tribune and Papa Job on, but they also do Rattler, and they also do real Rattler here, not the kind of modern version. And there was always a joke when we first used to go down to Padstow. We used to go almost annually, and that there were kind of 2 versions that they sold behind the bar, and we thought we'd made it because we thought we were getting sold the non-tourist stuff, which always felt a hell of a lot stronger than the modern stuff is. So yeah, the shipwrights, they do food. There's an upstairs to it. It's an ancient old building. It's quite a large building. It's got a huge bar that runs all the way down the middle. It's kind of got a mezzanine and then a lovely creaky upstairs. You can imagine kind of old salty sea captains up there. But what most people do is they go in, they buy a pint, and they come outside. And they either sit on the seats that are there, or they simply just sit on the side of the harbour. And the rowing club is opposite. So again, on a summer's evening, all the gigs will be going out. All those kind of Cornish, Devonshire gigs will be going out as well. So a cracking place. The Shipwrights in Padstow. I've not been there for a few years. I imagine that a pint of Rattler probably that costs about £8 these days down there. The tribute was equally as good at times. So that was it. That's our Scorcher pubs. Some of them, well, we've got 2, 3 that we've all been to. So we've gone from London to Padstow to Malton to Newcastle Lyme and to Knaresborough. So we've covered a fair bit of the country. And Whitby. So if you were going somewhere tomorrow, chaps, Bruce, where would you be heading? Have we enticed you with any of the other ones, or?
Well, I'd quite like to visit the pub in the Isle of Wight because we've never been there. They look great. They look fantastic.
that one. So Bruce is going to chime in. Nicholas, are we sending you away from your choice of 3?
No, I would. If the weather remains as it has today, then it's easy just going up Old Malton.
Oh, Malton. So you'd go that one, right? Yeah. I wouldn't disagree with that. I think if I had a helicopter, I would think the shipwright's in Padstow, but it's an 8-hour drive, so I'm not quite sure I'd want to go there tomorrow. So again, I might be the same. It might just be Mellards on Saturday afternoon. I think it's going to be a slightly better weekend, I understand from the thing. So that is it. We're on to episode 82. We don't know what that will be or when that will be, because as you heard, Bruce is going off for a couple of weeks to jet around a cruise around the European hotspots. Nick is going off to Dublin for the day, one of these extreme away days. So we'll maybe get feedback from that. I may well be in Ireland myself in a few weeks' time. And then we are still plotting. We've had a slight disruption with dates. A trip to the East Midlands to pick in a couple of places that we've not really visited prior. We talked a lot about Melton Mowbray. So we're going to try and fix up a meeting there between the 3 of us, probably via Derby, and probably to include Grantham and where else
Leicester.
did we say? Not Oakham. What's the other place down there? The old oldie worldy place. Name's good. It's in
Stanford.
Huh?
Was it Stanford?
Stanford. That was it in Rutland. With all its very oldie worldy pubs. So I've done a bit of research on this, some fantastic pubs. So that's the plan. We were hoping to do that in September, but we might push it back slightly. So that is it. So Bruce is off. He's in Liverpool, so he'll probably find a chance to have some beers in Liverpool.
Liverpool at home. It's against Newcastle. There's a
all right.
And I've got to be careful where I go, really, to watch the game. I'm going to look for an Everton pub, I think.
Nicholas is working. Then he's off to Dublin. I might meet Nick the bank holiday weekend, and we might try and get a drink in, possibly in Brasscastle and the pizza on the square, and maybe the Royal Oak Old Malton. Not much planned for myself this weekend, so we'll see how it goes. So, gents, Bruce, have a wonderful holiday.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nicholas, have a lovely epic away day. Even though you have got to
get
I would say
I wouldn't recommend it. It says we had real fruit flavour to a clear like beer, but it's got a bit of a greasy taste to it. I think they're using that syrup they used to have in the milkshakes, which is quite sweet. I think they're using the sort of syrup. So £2 a can, give it a go. But yeah, I wouldn't be buying it again.
There we go. On that bombshell for Tula, we will close. Everybody.